Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to answer the perennial question. Which is better in the gym, Berserker or Zen Monk? On the one hand, you have the incredibly off-putting and annoying Zen Monk crew, led by Vince Gironda and Iron Man Magazine's Stuart McRobert. These guys espouse zero music in the gym, zero back squatting, a lot of meditation, and such weird things as training in the dark to improve your mind muscle connection. And on the other hand, you have the Berserker, characterized by the 1990s love of extreme shit. These people do the most all the fucking time. Music blaring, screaming, weights clanging, blood flying. These people make the gym both interesting and terrifying to behold. At the root of the divide, to music or not to music. I will put all my sources in the comments so that you guys can see them. And I will state again that I find most sports science to be trash because their sample sizes are very, very small. However, it is the sole thing I have to work with beyond the historical record, and the historical record supports music as opposed to no music, as does the science, albeit with their tiny little sample sizes. And in fact, it is known that fast music benefits people exercising far more than slow music, and slow music is more helpful than no music at all. In other words, play some fucking music. Now, it won't make the lifting seem easier or the exercise seem easier, but it will allow the duration to be increased. And even if you can't listen to music while you're competing, listening to music while you warm up increases your power output significantly. Music might also be useful for fighters, Olympic lifters, and throwers. Speed and reactivity in surgeons was increased significantly in those listening to music than not, especially where surgeons played music they liked. Music also makes you more explosive. It improved the velocity of takeoff and force development in squat jumps in one study. Unconvinced? Well, relaxing music is not just going to be non-beneficial for you. In fact, unless you're doing a cardiovascular event like long-distance pedestrianism or getting on a bicycle or doing something that is going to be a very, very long-term thing, relaxing music will not help your performance at all. In fact, it lowers your grip strength when it's tested in the gym. So I would not recommend you train to easy listening music. And I understand that not all of us are psychopaths like myself. There are a lot of chill bros and girls out there, and y'all need to know how to train too. Now, if you are chill, anger can still be a gift in the gym, provided that you have the self-confidence that allows you to manage that anger. If you are a person who has a great deal of self-doubt, I would not get yourself super hyped before you go into the gym. It will not benefit you. But if you are an extrovert and you possess a decent amount of self-confidence, getting angry in the gym or on the field or on the mat does seem to lend itself to higher levels of performance. One lift that does not benefit from you being overly hyped is the 1 rep max on your squat. I found this from personal experience and from the scientific literature that your performance will degrade if you are overly hyped on the 1 rep max on the squat. And I've noticed this significantly with stimulants. Anything stronger than caffeine, from my personal experience, makes me too shaky to actually perform a good squat. As you can see, this guy here, solid as a fucking rock because he's chill. And as condescension never helped anybody get fucking stronger, let's all stop being cheerleaders to the invalids in our crew and treat them like a fucking peer. Because treating them otherwise just makes them weaker, at least according to the science and what my brain says. And although I don't suggest you go to the extremes that this fat fuck has, I do suggest you make some fucking noise in the gym. Bellowing, screaming, key-upping, whatever you do, it will raise your force production and has in studies at least 7%. That'll take a 500-pound deadlift to 535 just by letting a little fucking noise out of your face. And all of the heroes of the ancient epics do it. In the Homer's Iliad, you had Diomedes, Menelaus, and Odysseus, all of whom were known for their loud war cries. You had the warriors of the Shahnameh, who were all described as having rumbling, deep voices and bellows like an elephant enraged. There were Irish heroes who had hero screams that could scare off devils and goblins and gave rise to the Banshee and the X-Men. There was a Georgian war hero, Russia, not America, who was able to drop opposing warriors simply by screaming at the motherfuckers. So this shit works, although again, don't be like this fat fuck here. But remember, it's not just about the screams, it's about the music you're playing as well. Historically, this has been validated by every fucking warrior culture on the planet, but a couple that really spring to mind are the Central Asians, like the Huns and the Mongols, who had this horn called the zurna that was actually a sonic weapon that's listed in the fucking Bible, used by Angel Gabriel to destroy walls of cities. Play that kind of shit. The fucking metalist shit you can find. The Irish played their own kind of acoustic metal back in the day with fucking bagpipes. I'm not suggesting you have to listen to metal. You just have to find that ethos and get it in. And should you find yourself screaming in the gym to raucous music, you are utilizing two of the techniques beloved by people into Somafera, aka Berserker Gong, aka the mindset that you know and associate with berserkers, the guys who would go out into battle bare ass naked in the middle of a fucking snowstorm with nothing but a broadsword, as much a danger to themselves and their compatriots as they are to the enemy, but in an altered state that allowed them to do superhuman motherfucking things. Now, these peoples have populated the entire world throughout history, and I'm sure that most of the names of these groups are lost to us. However, we still know some of them. We know the Dacian werewolves of Romania. We know the ghost dancers of the Lakota and the Sioux, the Fists of Harmony and Justice in the Chinese Boxer Rebellion. We also have the leopard, baboon, and crocodile cults of Africa. There are, of course, the Viking berserkers, the whirling dervishes of Turkey. The list goes on and on. But the point is that these guys all utilized specific techniques that were ranged from different drugs to certain physical activities to the use of music and yelling in order to enter an altered state that would allow them to do superhuman things. And this is the path that you're on. Before you even enter the gym, before you turn on the music, before you start screaming, it's time to get fucked up. The Maenads of Dionysus and some Germanic and Celtic berserks were said to use alcohol. I personally did it for a couple of years, and I don't recommend it. The Scythians, Hashashin, and Germanic and Scandinavian tribes use cannabis, and that was huge. The word ganja is actually a 2,000 plus year old word that is Sanskrit, and it was what the Indians called their pre-workout, pre-battle THC-laden drink that probably also contained ephedra. The Hashashin were also known for being blazed as fuck in battle, and their name, the Assassins, comes from the fact that they smoked hash the whole fucking time. The leopard men of Africa consume poisonous toads, snakes, and scorpions. I don't recommend that, nor do I recommend Tukey Williams' PCP route. However, all of these things have been used traditionally throughout history in order for people to achieve these great things, and PCP does seem to have given Tukey Williams 23 in charms. Beyond that, though, once you're fucked up, my personal pre-workout ritual is to smoke weed on my walk to the gym. I walk for a half hour on the way to the gym every day. Rain or shine, any weather, it doesn't matter. This is the method by which I enter my state. Pacing is the way that people enter this gonger state, and if you see any animal locked in a cage, that pacing state is entering the state that it needs to enter in order to murder your fucking face. This is something that has traditionally also gone as far as burning themselves, beating their heads on the ground, starvation, dehydration. You'll see people getting slapped on the back or slapped in the face at meets. I don't recommend any of those things. Again, I take it back to pacing. Find the things that are not destructive and latch onto those, because Berserker Gong is a very, very tenuous state, and any self-doubt or anxiety that you give yourself that you cannot control will turn against you. So how do you get crunk as fuck before you go into the gym? It's a little bit more than just getting drunk and going into the gym screaming. The ways that people have done it throughout history are as varied as they are confusing to explain. However, there are 5 basic steps to max hyphy that have been outlined by a man named Wayland Skala-Grimson, who is arguably the sole authority on Somifera. He has listed them as a 5-step process that starts with clearing the mind and reaching a meditative state, and that does include intoxication. Step 2 is prayers and invocation to whatever god slash spirit slash totem animal is responsible for what you want to do in your given belief system. This was very, very often totem animals, which is how you come up with the Dacian wolfmen and Viking bear berserkers or wolf berserkers, or anything that's associated with an animal is necessarily an animal totem. Whatever your belief system is, you can apply that. I don't know how you would do the Judeo-Christian belief system, except that it's basically just an updated version of Mars worship. So you just worship the god of war, Mars, and then you could do it that way, I suppose. Step 3 is utilizing the aforementioned physical adrenaline triggers. Like I was saying, the pacing, slapping yourself, having somebody else slap you. Benny Poto used to whip himself with nettle branches and hang weights from his testicles. There's many ways to skin a cat. You can do any of them that you find effective. I personally don't find the pain infliction ones to be useful. But step 4 is using pain infliction or changing your costume in order to achieve that mindset. This is, in pro wrestling terms, getting into your gimmick. I don't change clothes to go into the gym. I don't really understand that methodology, but I don't understand gimmicks and I can't apply them. However, if that does appeal to you, then that's there for you to use. And then step 5 is you just keep repeating step 3 and 4 until you're hype enough to do the thing you need to do. It's all about the hype. The methods aren't really as important as the madness. On the other hand, you have the Zen monk approach, the peaceful, placid, basement gym dwelling approach that eschews the training distractions that seem to plague these poor people. Now, what follows is something that I cannot personally attest to because I don't have any of these proclivities or inclinations, and it seems both absurd from an intellectual standpoint and unsupported from a historical basis. However, I understand there are people out there who are not capable of getting themselves super hyped because of their anxiety, and thus I wanted to offer you a counterpoint. Thus, here are the words of Bradley J. Steiner, who is one of those authors I mentioned earlier who loved to suck the fun out of lifting back in the 90s, and he promoted very, very placid basement lifting, always alone, and I suppose in an effort to forget about the wife and family that they lost in a divorce. I don't know why these guys do the things that they do, but here are the things they say. Peace and tranquility, peace and quiet, tranquility leads to inner and outer strength and permits your body to maintain a peaceful equilibrium conducive to growth, maintenance, and tissue repair. So says Bradley J. Steiner, who was one of these authors who was really popular in the 90s at promoting this sort of thing. These guys believed such things as I mentioned, training blindfolded would lead to better gains because you would not be distracted. And these guys believed that distractions in the gym were the thing that prevented lifters from getting anything done. Why they thought that, I don't know, because if you look at the Gold's Gym guys of the 60s and 70s, there were nothing but distractions in their gym. They were training with hot women at all times, going out on the beach and doing hand balancing, going in the bathroom and fucking. They were doing all of the things at all the times and not really paying particular attention to their lifts unless they were under the bar. So when Bradley Steiner said distraction is the physical culturist's greatest enemy, I just don't know that that is necessarily the case. But he wanted you to block out the rest of the world and go deep inside what Bill Pearl would later call your inner universe. He wanted you to reach the point where the gym could catch on fire and you wouldn't notice until you finished your set. And for that reason, he viewed anything that made it difficult to concentrate as a problem. So here are things he listed as a problem: loud blaring radio, loud blaring television, loud blaring music, cell phones, other gym members, I mean, there's a long, long list of things that he didn't like in the gym. And he basically wanted you to avoid all of them. And as I said, just dwell in your basement by yourself. If you hadn't noticed, basement lifters are not typically great. I have yet to really come across a person who trained in complete isolation and ended up setting any kind of records or doing anything that was specifically impressive. So when I tell you all this, I would like you to take it with a grain of salt. Although I do think that there is some benefit to meditation, I just don't think that Bradley Steiner's methodology is the best. There was a guy named Doug Furness who was 5'10, 275. He was a crazy good power lifter, really, really ripped. I say he was because I'm pretty sure he's dead. He was really, really big into meditation. And so, doing some research into meditation, I discovered that there are tons of benefits to it, provided you don't overdo it and go insane as some people have done in Buddhist temples when Americans get, we do everything too fucking hard. And apparently that is up to and including meditation. But the if meditation is the way you want to go, it has many benefits according to science, such as a lowered risk of overtraining, which I find to be a very specious claim right out of the gate, because although it's saying that it's going to calm your brain and prevent you from overthinking what you're doing, I doubt that it is going to have any specific benefit in terms of your recovery. But it does reduce your stress hormone concentrations. It can increase your testosterone and growth hormone levels. It improves kidney function, increases thermogenesis, increases focus and sports performance, enhances reaction time, improves carbohydrate metabolism somehow reduced evening time overeating, allegedly slows biological aging. And I mean, again, the list seems mostly specious, and I would say that take it with a grain of salt. But meditation is something that everybody does in the world, from NFL players to martial artists to CEOs. And I do think that it has a significant benefit in terms of improving your mental health, but I don't think that it's necessarily got its own place in the gym. But should you decide that you want to utilize those methods in the gym, there are some, you can use vocalizations and mantras and focused breathing in the same way that the berserkers are using the pacing and the screaming and the grunting, and that might be your way to go. Lonnie Lowry is a big fan of using the ah and om methods. Again, I am not a yoga instructor and I don't specialize in meditation. Whenever I've tried to do any kind of focused meditation, I fall asleep. So I will suggest that you go to an expert to find out how to do perhaps a guided meditation or a present moment focus or some other spiritual methodology that appeals to your quieter side. And that might be the benefit you get where you go for the Zen Buddhists. And I do understand that Zen monks have got spectacular abilities to inure themselves to pain, but pain inurement is not necessarily a good indicator of your ability to grow physically large. And you don't need to look any further than grip training specialists to see that, because all those grip tests are, as a general rule, is an ability for your body to endure a massive amount of pain in digits that are supposed to be used for fine motor skills, as opposed to rolling up a fucking frying pan that could better be used to make you lunch to get over 150 fucking pounds. So there you have it. Berserker or Zen monk, pick your fucking side. Obviously I have. And there you have it. Meditation versus meatheaditation. Go to plagueofstrength.com to get all this dope shit and more.